Good morning, everybody. Thank you for logging in early for this presentation. We will probably wait another 2 or 3 minutes to let any late stragglers join us before we'll start the formal meeting. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this presentation today. My name is Sean O'Sullivan. I'm representing DGDA. I'm the construction director. I'm responsible for this package of work. The presentation today is the mid-tender briefing for the pre-construction services and site-wide logistics. Also on the call assisting DGDA today are Arcadius and JLL, who are our technical personnel, and they will also speak during the presentation. This is the agenda for today. I'll explain the DGDA for those of you who are not familiar with us quite briefly. I'll also briefly explain the master plan. Then Arcadius will discuss part 1, the pre-construction services. And JLL will discuss part 2, which is the site-wide logistics and security. We'll then quickly just show an example of some of the challenges that we have. And then finally, we'll discuss about the procurement milestones, which JLL will assess. I'm just going to pause for 1 second there because some people appear to be not be able to get in yet. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'll let some people in who were in the lobby. Anybody who has the microphone on, turn it off, please. Thank you. Okay, so back to the agenda, as I just explained. For those of you who are just arriving a little bit late, I will briefly, my name is Sean O'Sullivan from DGDA, Construction Director. I will briefly explain DGDA and the approved master plan. Arcadius will discuss in detail the pre-construction services, as will JLL will discuss in detail part 2, which is the site-wide logistics and security. We'll then briefly look at one particular issue we have, which we have interest to everybody, and then finally Arcadius will summarise the procurement milestones. So the purpose of the meeting is to provide the bidders with an overview of the project and the scope of works. It's not intended to be a detailed discussion. So I'd ask that you don't use the chat function on this presentation, but you submit any questions, any clarifications you may have through the formal ITT document. This presentation is being recorded for record purposes. We will share the recording with you, and we will also share this presentation to make it a bit easier for you guys, because there's a lot of information that will go through reasonably quickly. So I'll just quickly explain who DGDA are. Diriyah, if you're not aware of, is the capital of the first Saudi state and the birthplace of the Qala. The historical Diriyah district of At-Tarif was registered with the UNESCO in 2010 as a World Heritage Site and a landmark for Saudi Arabia. Between 2010 and 2018, it was redeveloped to create a large visitor attraction, which will hopefully be open to the public next year. So on the back of At-Tarif, it was decided that DGDA would develop a master plan to develop the cultural destination and provide a catalyst for the growth of Diriyah. The project will be an iconic project and will celebrate the history and the culture and the architecture that's unique to Diriyah and to Saudi Arabia. It will inspire the citizens to make them proud of their heritage and their future. An overall map here showing the area in blue outlined is the area that's under DGDA supervision, which is 190 kilometers squared. The green area in the bottom right, is the Diriyah Gate itself, and that's about 9 square kilometers. And we'll discuss that in more detail now with this presentation. In addition, the area in beige is Wadi Safar, which is another project that DGDA is responsible for, of approximately 60 square kilometers, but it's not part of the current scope of works. So the master plan itself for Diriyah Gate, which is the areas left and right of the Western Ring Road. To give you an idea of geometry here, you have the junction of the Western Ring Road, King Khalid Road heading north and south, and then the Northern Ring Road heading east. So this is our initial phasing plan and our capital expenditure budget, which is approved by the Board of Directors. Within the master plan, there's a significant number of assets, which hopefully you can read some of these here. A lot of retail, hotel, commercial, offices, residential, cultural, museums, the list goes on and on and on, sports as well. The overall phasing will be developed initially with Diriyah Square, which is in the middle here, and then in parallel Diriyah North and Diriyah South and Diriyah Gates later on. The At-Tarif area is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Al-Bajeri is under reconstruction. The Sapan area has started reconstruction with the hotel and the art centre, for those of you that have visited the area recently. This is an aerial view of the master plan taken from the southwest. So you'll see At-Tarif off to the left here, and you'll see the Western Ring Road dissecting the site, and King Khalid Road going from left to right on the north of the image. This is another same image just from the southeast direction. The M's indicate future metro stations, which is part of a future expansion from King Saud University. So the architecture of the site is very unique, and is one of the challenges that we will face with you guys as the successful contractor. The streets are very narrow. The traffic is underground, which I'll explain a little bit later on. The car parking is underground. All the distribution networks for utilities, etc., is all underground and in a large concrete network. So the streets remain unhindered, so pedestrians can enjoy it. Also, the materials, which you'll see here, are traditional adobe materials as used in At-Tarif and other areas, Alula, downtown Riyadh, etc. That creates its own challenges around the scale of materials required, the volume of materials, and to make it look traditional as per the architecture here, while at the same time making it fast-track construction and a minimization of future maintenance where possible. So these are just some images taken, shown from the master plan, showing the overall idea of what the final product will look like. So I'll now hand over to Arcadis, and they will discuss the part one, which is the pre-construction services.
Thank you, Sean. So basically, as Sean previously highlighted, this ITT is about two parts. The first part is the pre-construction services, and we are looking for the contractor, not a consultant. We are looking for a contractor, an experienced contractor, so they can review and advise DGDA on certain requirements for specific packages. So basically listed here on this slide are the main tasks that are required for the pre-construction services. You will basically be given the schematic. We have 5 packages for this. You will basically be given the schematic and the design, detailed design, and against each of these stages you will have to produce certain requirements. So first of all, the reports and recommendation. It's review on the constructability of the design, identify the risks, advise on improvements, value engineering options, key design interfaces, and advise on all aspects of construction and buildability. So basically, you are the consultant. You are providing DGDA with your previous experience engagements in similar projects to give us services and insight on what's to come and what to expect. District level phasing strategies, recommendations of district level phasing strategy, evaluate the master program and phasing options, identify opportunities for early works and planning optimization, advise on construction management plan, which is also a big part of the puzzle, specifically also for logistics, which we are going to come up against next. Also, effective procurement sourcing strategies is going to be one of the things that you will be looking into and informing us about the best procurement sourcing strategy and approach. Then the site-wide logistics strategy. So you're looking at different, of course, there are different phases, districts that you will be looking into. You need to review, suggest if there are any improvements on the logistic plan, evaluate logistic constraints, advise on sequence and methodology, logistics strategy development and support. So these are the main requirements that you are looking at, and the next slides will show you the packages. So for each of these tasks, or for each of these tasks during the schematic stage and the detailed design stage, you will get 4 weeks to complete the tasks highlighted. Of course, this is a high-level presentation. All this is detailed in the ITT document in detail. You can go through it, read it. If you have anything, you will use bit form B3 in the ITT to raise any technical queries. And also, there is worth mentioning in the pre-construction services, there is also a deployment schedule which is attached to this ITT. This deployment schedule is going to act as a framework agreement as other packages may arise that you need to complete the same services in the scope of work, but for different packages, and it's going to be on call-off basis. So also please take a look at that, and this needs to be part of your submission. Okay, so we have package 1 to, the 5 packages are the ones on the left. 1 to 5, the bulk infrastructure, we have tunnel packages, and we have the district level phasing, site-wide logistics strategy. And the first 3 packages are bundled here together, package 1 to 3. I'm not going to go through this. We just went through the main elements that you need to be going through to provide your reports. The next slide will show you package 4 and 5, the district level phasing and the site-wide logistics strategy report. And these are the things that we will be expecting you to look at and provide your expertise and experience against. Specifically also for the site-wide logistics, which is a bit of a challenge in such a huge project in regards to different interfaces with plots, districts, the different contractors all over the place. So I think the next step would be the logistics, and I'll hand over to JLL for this.
Right, good day to everybody. My name is Jacob Berger and I represent JLL as the PMC for the site-wide logistics and security main contract. So just in summary, as far as the scope is concerned, it is the main contractor obviously have to implement temporary road signage, lighting, security facilities, which is a very important aspect for the overall project, and then looking after overall the logistics and the transportation hubs to ensure the efficient movement of all of the resources needed to accommodate all of the 6 different districts that I will get to in a minute. And then also off-site, away from the site, there's also the Adobe Yard, which is a very important feature, which will basically be a logistic area for fabrication of some of the materials for the eventual development. Very important to note is the 2 logistic laydown areas at Ashmakan, and I will get into detail and actually indicate where these are, and then also another logistics laydown area in Diriyah Gardens, which will be managed by the main contractor. The main phases of this project for the main contractor will be the establishment, obviously, of the initial facilities and the initial operation. Then obviously the main facilities needs to be established, and facilities obviously will include the gates, haul roads, crossing points, etc. And then there's a very important aspect on the O&M for the duration of the contract, and obviously at the end there's the removal of all the facilities. So on this, just a very brief schematic, just showing that the 6 districts on the left-hand side of the Western Ring Road, which is the Northern Cultural District, Diriyah North, Diriyah Square, and then Diriyah South 1 and 2, then Diriyah Gardens at the bottom, and then to the right we've also indicated Ashmakan, which is just the other side of the Western Ring Road, and that is one of the logistics, or the main logistics hub for all of the contractors, including the site-wide logistics main contract. So just a very brief overview on the master plan overview. So again, just to probably assist by giving an indication of where the different areas are. So I will start on the north eastern side with the Northern Ring Road, which people might be familiar with. That ring road feeds into the site and then becomes the Western Ring Road. There's obviously the DGDA office, and in that office is also all of the consultants are resident in those offices. We've got King Khalid Road coming in from the eastern side. Then there's the Ashmakan logistics area, which is obviously a very important hub for the logistics. We've got the Western Ring Road. There's quite a major diversion that is shown on that drawing, even though it's quite small. It will have an impact on all of us, but the diversion is actually done by others. But it will mean that there will have to be very close coordination with that diversion in terms of maintaining access and egress to the site and making sure that it's safe, not just for the project resources, but also for the public. Then on the western side, there's the Diriyah Gardens logistics area, which will also contain the, one of the batch plant areas for Diriyah Square. It's probably worthwhile to note at this stage that there might be batch plants in each of the areas, but that's all up to the individual areas, the 6 areas I just highlighted before. Very importantly is Wadi Hanifa, is that it's obviously a very sensitive area that we need to be cognizant of, being not just the Wadi, but there's also in and around the Wadi Hanifa, as well as on the other side towards Ashmakan. There are VVIP residents that we need to be very sensitive of and make sure that our stakeholder management is top-notch to make sure that we do not affect any of these VVIP areas. Then on the top, as Sean mentioned at the start, is the Aturiaf District Museum, which I guess is a bit of a blueprint for this development as well. Again, very important historical and cultural area for us to be mindful of. So I'm going to go into a bit more detail. So that is just highlighting the Ashmakan logistics laydown area. You will see that there is a line which is a 132 kV cable diversion that is being done by others. So this is just for information. Timing wise, that cable should be in by the time that the logistics area is being constructed. So as I said, it's for information only. So this area, the North Area, Tiria Gardens, then there's Tiria South 1 and 2, etc. They will all be allocated an area as a laydown area, and similar to, and also for the site-wide logistics main contractor, as you will see, there is an area identified as a laydown area, but also for basically for a holding area for deliveries coming into the site. That all needs to be managed by the Ashmakan site. So the management of traffic and the security thereof is a very important aspect. And coming into the logistics area, where there will be a holding area for the deliveries, there will be obviously be a system to then allow traffic to go onto the site, make sure that they go to the right gate and to the right area, because we cannot afford for traffic to come onto site not knowing exactly where they're going. And that is one of the main responsibilities for the main contractor. The next area that we'll show is the other logistics laydown area I mentioned before, which is just to the south of the original drawing I showed you, which is Tiria Gardens area. So you will see there's it shows DSQ, which stands for Tiria Square laydown area, and then there's an area identified for the batch plant. Again, this is for an area specific. It doesn't have that major impact on the site-wide logistics, apart from us having to provide the access into these laydown areas so that there's efficient traffic movement without creating any congestion. And to the right of that area for Tiria Square, you will see is Gate 5. That is a very critical access into the site. It's one of the new gates that is not in operation yet, and that will be one of the key features for us to make sure that we get the traffic efficiently off the Western Ring Road into Gate 5 and then obviously disperse them into the site. So this, I mentioned Gate 5, so if you look to the south on this drawing, you will see Gate 5, just to give some indication of where we are. So what you will see is there's obviously a number of gates identified on the site. So there's 10 different gates, different locations obviously, and then there's also a main gate into the Ashmakan logistics area. Some of these gates, well, certainly Gate 4 is in operation to a certain extent. The other gates are non-existent and will have to be established as per the scope of work contained in the ITT. All of these gates obviously will require access and egress, which is part of traffic management studies, making sure there's sufficient legislative signage as well as information signage on these public roads. And there's also an interface with the King and with royal family members going into Wadi Hanifa, which we will need to accommodate as and when that transpires. But as far as access points to the site, those will be regulated by the 10 gates that we've identified on this drawing. Another important aspect is Sean touched on some of the spine roads or the tunnels. So on the basis that all of the one of the accesses for the public will be underground. There's a number of major tunnels, not just for vehicle and movement, but also for services. These are quite big structures, and they obviously being underground, it will mean that a lot of the logistics will have to cross these tunnels at certain points. We've envisaged 7 crossings, which will basically be a Bailey Bridge construction or similar, and the solution is to be provided by the contractors, spanning approximately 20 to 30 meters. We have proposed 2 bridges per tunnel crossing with 2-way traffic, and the traffic will be controlled by traffic lights. Also important to note that these bridges will have to be relocated along the tunnel to obviously accommodate the construction phasing of these tunnels, installation of services, etc. So very important aspect to understand. It's obviously for the contractors to come up with a solution for these crossings of the tunnels. Again, just by way of an overview, to show that the project site in relation to where the Adobe yard is likely to be. It's about 8 or 9 kilometers away from the site. This is obviously part of the scope as well, is to establish the Adobe yard location with its access roads, boarding, etc. So that's all part of the scope. Then the actual, obviously the fabrication, etc. is a subject of different work packages. But it's important that the Adobe yard be established as per the program, and that the facilities will deliver on what the requirements are from a productivity aspect, etc., for fabricating of all of these Adobe products. So just very briefly on the scope of works, I've gone through some of the drawings. I'll just highlight a few things. So what is quite important, I'm not going to go into the detail, but on the stakeholder management, that is a very important aspect. And the PMC will need to work very closely with the main contractor, as well as obviously with DGDA, with his stakeholders, to maintain not just good relationships, but make sure that we get all of the approvals from the authorities, taking cognizance of the fact that we have VVIPs in the area that we need to be very mindful and considerate of. Excuse me, and then obviously the government authorities like civil defence, royal guards and the police. So stakeholder management is a very important aspect, and we do foresee obviously very close collaboration with the main contractor. One of the important things is there will be, from a health and safety perspective, we will have a system to actually, if there are injuries on site, to obviously get ambulances and medical care onto site that will be controlled by the main contractor, just from an access perspective, because the site is so big, as well as for firefighting. These are details we will sort out later on, but it's not the provision of a facility, but it's looking after obviously getting effective transport in and out of the site in cases of needing these emergency services. The logistic haul roads construction and maintenance obviously is the biggest part of obviously the scope, and the contractor is to construct all of the haul roads in accordance with the approved logistics master plan, which is in place. There is obviously some development to be done on it, especially through the stage 1, where we are looking for some comments from the main contractor in terms of optimization and value engineering. The site-wise logistics contractor is also to implement a very important aspect, which is the delivery management system to control the traffic into the site and out of the site. There is a lot of concurrency on development of these 6 areas, which means at peak there will be in excess of probably 40,000 people on site, with its associated deliveries, and that the deliveries of the goods and people will have to be managed with a very effective system, and the software will have to be designed, supplied and maintained by the site-wide logistics main contractor, with a very major interface obviously with the security contractor who will assist the main contractor, which I will get to in a minute. Site-wide logistics contractors also to provide all the utilities to deliver the full scope of work, as there is at this stage no connections to any permanent services. So to go into a little bit more detail on the security, which is a very important aspect that is obviously contained within this package. It needs to be an experienced security company that the main contractor will have to nominate to provide security across the whole of the site. Amongst others, there's obviously protect the site against unauthorized access. It's to control all of the access to the control points, regulate the traffic, which is a major part of the scope, etc. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but this site-wide security contractor will act as the end user of this delivery management system to control access to the site. The main contractor is also to consider some of the annual events in this DGDA area, and there is some descriptions in the tender documents for the tenderers to consider. So we'll go on to some aerial views, again to give a bit of perspective. So on this one to the left is the Western Ring Road that we've talked about a little bit, and then to the right is the logistics area in Ashmakan. That area that is shown there is actually surfaced with asphalt. Obviously at the time when this was taken it wasn't surfaced, but that's just to give an overview. The next slide will show again just to the south of the previous aerial photo, which will show the Western Ring Road. It shows the Gate 5 location. And then just to the other side, so call it to the east of the Western Ring Road, there's the MISC development, which is underway as we speak. Then I've highlighted the Wadi Hanifa, which is to the right, going basically around the southern and then also the western side of the site, and also Tiria Gardens logistic area. So what you can appreciate that there's nothing built there in these areas as yet, so it's effectively greenfields, if you want to call it that, and then the full logistics needs to be established for these areas, including the haul roads. So we've switched now to the northern area, which is the gate position for gates 1, 2 and 3. The site looks slightly different than this photo, but it does give an indication that these gates are right next to the Western Ring Road. Next slide will show the gates 4 and 5, probably the most important two gates for the site. Gate 4 is the main access for Diria Square, which is a absolute key part of this whole development. And Gate 5, obviously from a logistics perspective, coming off the Western Ring Road and getting onto the Western Ring Road is a very important aspect. The Gate 4 is operational as we speak. However, what is there will need to be realigned from a positioning perspective, etc. So it's got to be approached to be coordinated very closely to maintain access whilst the new Gate 4 is being built, more or less in the same facility. And then again, just to the left is Wadi Hanifa. So just some site photos very briefly to show you the current status. So Gate 1 is not in operation. You will see the landscaping to the left, which is very important for us to maintain as best we can. It is very important to the DGDA to make sure that we maintain, because it's outside of the site boundary, but it is being accessed by the public on a daily basis, so we need to maintain that. Gate 2 does have some access, but again, all of these will need to be reconfigured to be in alignment with the tender documents and the design. Gate 3, same comment as Gate 2, even though there's limited access, it will need to be reconfigured. Gate 4, as I mentioned, is active, however, it will need to be realigned. Another very important aspect I think to mention is also the historical wall. Certainly to the south and the west of the site, there's a historical wall in place with the turrets as it's shown there, and the protection of this historical wall is very critical. There are areas where some of the wall might have to be demolished and reinstated, which will mean we will need to closely work with various government departments for the demolition, but then the reinstatement but rest assured that the maintaining and the safeguarding of the historical wall is a very important aspect for the tenderers to consider. I think that is the scope, and I will now hand back.
Okay, thanks, Jacko.
Too short. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to very quickly just highlight one of the main challenges on the job that I briefly touched on earlier, to do with the vehicle tunnels. And Jacko also mentioned those in his presentation, to do with the Bailey bridges. So there is a significant underground network to be built, both for transportation and utilities. The map on the left shows in blue the tunnels north and south, the north spine and the south spine, and they sort of cut the site almost in half from east to west. And then, in addition, right in the middle of the site, we have a gyratory, which is a large underground transportation system, which almost cuts the site in half from north to south. So you can see where, when all this work is underway and is significant, you're looking at sometimes up to 20, 25 meters below existing ground. The site is very split, very fractured. So one of the main responsibilities we will have as site-wide logistics is to make sure that access is always maintained from left to right and north to south. And that's something that's a challenge that you'll see clearly in the documents that have been provided in the ITT. In addition, the large underground utility tunnels and all the services within that, all the infrastructure are significant, and multiple level basement car parking as well just adds to the overall challenges that we have. Just a bit more of a focus on that, and a bit more of a detail on all the underground car parking, each with different levels, sometimes basement +2, basement +3. There are some multi-story car parks which are easier, but all of these add to the overall challenge that we need your help on, and that's very important. We need you to help us. You know, we have done a very good job, but we know with your help we can improve on this, and we can make this job go a lot smoother, and hopefully get some good ideas around constructability, value engineering, etc., as outlined in the different packages earlier. So I'm just going to hand back to Arcadis just to finish off the presentation with the last slide.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's Malcolm Ray here from Arcadis. So just to talk you through these tender milestones. So the 25th of November, as you all know, the ITT document was issued to you. What I'd just say here as well, if you wouldn't mind, and it's just a bit of a clarification for you, when you're asking any tender clarifications or queries, just please make sure that you use the correct B4 form when requesting these clarifications. It's also worth pointing out to you that when we receive a query, we try to answer them as quick as possible. We don't sit on those. And when you ask a query, we would share that with everybody. So we don't go back individually. We go back across the piece to all bidders, really. So 1st of December, which was, it was yesterday, tender addendum 1 was issued. Hopefully you've all got that. If you haven't, then please go back to the tender room email address and request that, but I'm pretty sure that we got that all out to you. The second today, obviously, the mid-tender presentations. Hopefully this has been very informative to you. 10th of December is the last date for queries. We don't hold on and issue them all in one go. We try to get them out as quick as possible because that helps you facilitate your response or your submission and in a better detailing. 16th of December is the proposal submission date. I believe we have put midday on the 16th. So if you could get it back by 16th, if you haven't any by midday, apologies. If you do have any issues, if you do have any problems with that, that you've sent it and you're not sure, just keep us in the loop. Okay, so for example, if you've sent it by a hard copy and it's gone late, just let us know. Post-tender interview presentations will be in January. We'll let you know a bit closer to the time. It'll be a similar presentation as we're doing today, but you'll do them individually. And also in January, the letter of award will be issued. The assessment criteria, we're looking at 60% technical and 40% commercial. So hopefully that has given you a good overview of the procurement milestones, tender milestones. What I will do is I will just wrap up here on behalf of everyone. So what I would say is thank you, a big thank you to you all for attending this morning's briefing. I know you all got busy schedules and busy days, but hopefully this has been very informative and helps you to develop and submit a really good submission. Once again, just to say, don't forget to use the B4 forms when requesting a clarification to a query. And I guess just finally, what I would say is we will issue the recording of this to you today, hopefully late afternoon. Sorry, and just I did say earlier it was a B4 form. It's the B3 form. So I've just checked that. So it's different on different forms, but it is the B3 form for queries. So once again, thank you to you all. Thank you to all the presenters as well. Very good, and have a great day.